So anyways, we have our impulse machine, our impulse bar, and these right here, they're empty, not for long. They're called clip slots, and it's very important to know that these are called clip slots and they'll eventually become a track. So if we click down here, or we just observe down here, this is our impulse kind of activator or device. This whole thing can be a little confusing or a little eye wandering. There's a lot of unique icons and things like that, but for the purpose of today, see this little circle right here? This is called our hot swap sample. Again, to the left, it'll tell you a little bit about the hot swap sample. Now, do me a favor, and we're just going to click that, okay? Just click it, and you see it brings us to this whole little browser or content pane with all these different little drum hits and such. You see the little arrow here? I'm about to sneeze, excuse me. So, continuing on, I just want you to take a little second and a little breather here and just focus on what we did. We started down here and click the hot swap sample. You're going to click it and it brings you to this next little mode, hot swap mode. And when you go through these, you're going to choose let's just for today, we're going to choose a kick. We're going to choose also a snare, which is right here. So kick, snare, just showing you where they're at for right now. Kick, snare. We're going to also do some toms, maybe one or two, which is located right here. A hi-hat and a cymbal. And maybe a clap. We'll see how eager we are. So for now, I'm going to take a little second for you to figure this out, and our next video will be what do these all contain. For instance, if I click down here, we're starting with the ride, or excuse me, we'll start with the kick, and it has just a whole wealth of different types of kicks for a drum. You can sample them by right-clicking just once, and that's the sound. Did you hear it? That's just one of the million types of kicks that you get to choose from. And it's kind of fun just to sit here and just, oh, cool. And you use your computer to just arrow down, and it'll sample each one of the kicks. Just to give you a little sample of that. So let's wait for our next video to see how we're going to actually use these impulse machines to create an actual beat. Okay? So just take a second. Alright. Okay, so part 2 of our lesson is creating an impulse beat, or kind of like this is our orchestra, it will be. So like I said earlier, we're going to click the hot swap mode, and we're going to use this box to create a kick. And let's just choose, nah, that's not a very good kick. This is a good, decent kick. So we're just going to right click it twice. And you see how it's now in here. We can play it. That's your impulse, your kick. Now over here, let's create our snare. So let's get rid of this triangle to bring everything up, make it a little more accessible. Let's get our snare. Click the arrow down, and now we have tons and tons of snares. That's not that great. Okay, sure, let's choose that one. Right click it, and now we have our kick and our snare. And I'm going to get to how you can make this a little bit more easier to click on rather than just clicking this one, because that would just be annoying. And in the age of technology, there's shortcuts to everything. So for now, we have our kick, which is this, our snare. Now let's get what are you going to do now? Let's pick up the snare so it's not confusing, and let's get a ride. No, let's not do a ride there. I lied. Let us do our hi-hats. That sounds a good one. Sounds like a good one. Click that there. Now we have our hi-hat. So now if we click, we have our kick, our snare, and our hi-hat. So let's create something even more. What are we going to do? That's not going to make it confusing. Yes, exactly. Click the arrow up so it hides all that. Let's do a nice little symbol. It's a good crash sound. So what are we going to do? Are we going to click it once or twice? Good, twice. Now it's right here. And let's just add one more piece of music or an instrument to our little drum set orchestra here. Let's do some miscellaneous percussion. That would be cool. See, it's kind of looping itself here. Gives you the preview. You want to use that? Alright, let's use that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sounds. This is perfect. A way to not get these confused with one another, we're going to go up here in the top right, and we're going to hit key. Okay? If you hit key, it turns certain things an orangish color. So let's make this one number 1. Oh, I'm sorry. This won't work for this part yet. Instead, we'll get to that later. I just wanted to show you something. What this will do is it'll be a hotkey. So essentially when we work with things up here, it's going to be a lot of different things to choose from. We're not going to remember to press Z or X or W. Instead, let's make it like let's make this a 1. Now it's a 1. And this is a 2, 3, so on and so forth. I'll get to what I'm doing there in the next tutorial, okay? But first, let's hit key again to get out of it. So now if I wanted to use this box, I'd hit 1, and there we go. Confusing, I understand. I'll stop, backspace. So now let's create a track. And we are going to create a track using these 5 instruments in about 10 seconds. So just play around with that. Listen to your sounds. Good. And you can always hit spacebar to stop the sound. See, I hit spacebar and I stopped it. Okay, great. Now let's move on to our next little demo. And that'll be creating a track out of these impulses. This is good stuff.